Hi, my name is Francine Houston, and I'm your host for the Artist in You. Today, I wanted to bring up a topic that I don't know if I really talk about it. I've been doing my poetry lately. I wanted to talk about lupus. It's something that I have been diagnosed with at the age of 18. Um, while I was like about to graduate high school. And I wanted to bring this topic up because it's been like I've been noticing people that I know who deal with lupus for years, like they be in remission, they do okay. The next thing you know, they in the hospital. Like Christina Hayes was in the hospital for a very long time. I think she had like multiple organs failing, and like I think she died on the operating table, but somehow they revived her. So she was in the hospital for a very long time. She had I think she had to learn how to walk again. Like she was in a wheelchair. So I was constantly praying for her. I couldn't go to the hospital to see her because at the same time last year I was dealing with lupus flare up, and I was on like a lot of medication, so it was hard for me to move around. I was happy I was at least able to work and come home. But this year, a dear friend of mine, I've been texting back and forth. She's the president. She's basically the president and founder of Lupus Detroit. And next thing I know, I look online, like I was texting her about stuff, and I look online, and she's in the hospital, like posting pictures of hospital food. And we like, okay, what happened? Because she suffered from strokes. So I know this is like, I don't know if people think this is like a blah topic or whatever, but it's serious because you may not have lupus, but you may know somebody who does have lupus. And it's something I really been trying to run away from. Like my first book is Lupus Journey. So I talked about this in two books, but now it's like God had me turn around and I'm writing another book about it. But this time I'm looking for answers. And the book is called Seeking You Shall Find. I'm trying to figure out when I should finish it, like when it has the ending. But I'm working with naturopathic doctor, and she's really trying to get me off the rest of my medications that I'm taking. But I wanted to go back to the original story, which is Lupus Journey, and I have the other story with me, Life After, and the beginnings of the third book, is Seeking You Shall Find. So with this book, basically, I can probably read an excerpt from it, and then talk about the next book, and eventually the book that's coming out. Hopefully, I can just have it penned and done um, before this year is over with, because I really feel like my trial, the lupus flare up, and the whole ordeal is having an ending. Like I haven't been trying to have no like flare ups lately, and I thank God that I'm not on steroids anymore. Or and then they diagnosed with acid reflux, so I was just like, somehow my naturopathic doctor got me off of that because it was just doing way too much. So um, before I got diagnosed at 16, I mean at 18, I was just a regular kid. I had to watch my siblings all the time and stuff like that, and I was able to drive, so I'm just used to doing that. Um, it's like the symptoms just came out of nowhere, and it happens throughout the even throughout now. I see that the symptoms just come, but I would say it was like the symptoms came at 17, but I got diagnosed at 18. So I wrote a poem called "Funny How Things Change." That can basically lead up to what happened, but I can just say this one paragraph and then do the poem. At the end of the year, there was a Christmas party for my church. I was getting my hair done by my cousin, and she knows a small bald spot in the back of my head. She decided not to give me perms anymore because she thought that was the problem. I panicked. I wish it would just go away. But throughout December of 1997, the bald spot continued to grow, and I continued to worry. Worrying don't make it no better. It just seemed like it just make the problem just even more. So the poem is called "Oh, How Funny Things Change." Oh, how Oh, funny how things change. Once I was so beautiful that all the boys knew my name. But that changed so rapidly that they wish they didn't even know me. I used to have sandy brown hair and flawless skin. I used to have a petite figure any kind of pants would fit in. Now almost all my hair fell falling out and my flawless skin turned rashy and ashy. My so-called petite figure turned into a big mass of cellulite and water mass. I and many others were concerned about this change. I prayed to God and Jesus to heal whatever remained. I went to the doctor and found out this occurrence was lupus. It will go away and come back with vengeance worse than before. I really was wishing that all my prayers reached heaven's door. But now it finally did. My hair grew back half its length. My skin isn't flawless, but it's getting there. And I'm not so fat that I wear a size 10 underwear. But the devil gives you a test of your faith to see if you're strong enough to endure the race. The race isn't over. It just started. This mean disease just got me started. Just got me to become stronger in the Lord today. If this was happened a few years ago, I would say no way. But I'm different now. The old man is gone. I'm a new creature born again and knows right from wrong. So you ask me if I go through lupus again with all the pain, steroids, falling out of hair, joint pains, blood and kidney problems, and many more. I would say it takes a very strong person to endure. So I don't know if this poem set me up for a second thing of this, but I ended up writing a second book while I was trying to publish the first one. So by January of 1998, my skin started breaking out real bad. I had a breakout on my forehead. So basically, when I took my seeing pictures, they had to block this out. They had to make it seem like I didn't have acne because it wasn't acne. It was actually lesions. Lesions. It looked like my skin was being burnt. So basically, I don't know. People call it inflammation at that time. And then we try to figure out what the root of inflammation is and like how to cure it and take medicines and stuff for it. But I remember I was listening to a minister and they was saying the inflammation was a curse and you had to break it at the root and stuff. So I'm still like this is a learning experience for me. I'm still trying to learn what this stuff is all about. Um so I basically was trying to learn how to deal with it on the spiritual side as well as the spiritual side as well as the physical side. And I saw this post. I'm trying to find it. I saw this post on Facebook about how you get symptoms with the lupus symptoms that you get and that how it can I'm trying to find it. I may not be able to find it before then. How the lupus symptoms of kidney disease come towards you because at first everybody told me that it doesn't come the way you think. It's gonna show up out of nowhere. It's just like all of a sudden you get sick. But I know it's with me. I had a lot of swelling in my I had a lot of swelling in my face and in my legs. And then I started dealing with not even being able to go to the bathroom. Like here you go, common lupus symptoms. Because I need to explain what it is. Lupus can affect almost every organ in your body, and no two cases of lupus are the same. Because me and my sister deal with lupus. She got diagnosed at 40 years old, though, and it just went straight to her kidneys. Memory problems, muscle sores, fever, hair loss, eye disease. I pray to God I don't get eye disease. Skin rashes, kidney problems, muscle pains, joint pains, chest pains, anemia, blood clotting, light sensitivity, nausea, inflammation, organ dysfunction, seizures, migraines, joint stiffness, extreme fatigue, and Ramadan uh, phenomenon. It's like when your hands they um they turn like purple, like you get like purple or pink tips of your hands. Um, I didn't know what this thing was because I got diagnosed in '98 and nobody ever heard of lupus before back then. We like, what is that? And can you just take something to get rid of it? And it wasn't like something I could just take and get rid of. It was something that I had to basically learn how to deal with. It was like you just don't get rid of lupus. It's part of you. It's an autoimmune disease. You have to learn how to live with it. And it's like a part of me just couldn't accept that because I was like, how am I just gonna live with this thing? This thing is not me. Like we always try to personalize. They always told me don't personalize what you're going through. That's a disease. You are you. And the disease is this. Like I can't say my lupus all the time. I can't say that. And it's like it started getting to the point where you kind of like owning it. Like you have a purse. That's so you can say my
Mhm.
purse, but I don't want to say my lupus because I don't want to own this thing. This is something that I'm going through. So it's like the more I will write about it, the more I will, talk about this stuff. I had to say this is just something I'm going through, and I'm hoping this has an end because there's a lot of the diseases out here that they said there's no hope, there's no cure, but people go through remission with cancer all the time and never get it back. And then some people I know who got a remission with lupus and it never came back. And I'm trying to be one of those people because as soon as I think I'm at that point, like I haven't had a flare up before this time, before 42, because I'm 43 now, so I had a whole year of a flare up that I had to deal with. Um it was like 7 years from 35 to 42. I wasn't having no type of flare ups. I had to get back on no type of medications. Matter of fact, the only medicine I took was Plaquenil, and I would get checked out for that every year. I was doing fine. I was just, minding my business, doing okay. But when it came to my kidneys, it was just like one day I should stop going to the bathroom as much as I was going. And I didn't really pay no attention. And if I had to go, it wasn't that much. And I'm like, where is this stuff coming from? Like I couldn't figure out or pinpoint where this stuff was coming from. But then next thing I know, I my doctor called me. I was like, your testis is not that well. That was the last time. And it was like, we gonna have you um take another test. And when that test came back, my kidneys was at 42. That was at 60. They went down to 42. And so I was just like, okay, this is not going to work for me. I got to do something different. And the next thing I know, the end of December of 2022, I was told you have to take 90 milligrams of steroids for 90 days. And that's when everything went. And I'm like, still out here. That's the third book. I'm still out here trying to do fashion shows, still trying to have clients, still trying to go to work, still trying to do everything. I even tried to go out and do Instacart, and that didn't go so well because next thing I know, I was in the parking lot huffing and puffing, and I think it was like two orders. So I'm in the parking lot huffing and puffing. Like I'm having an asthma attack, and I'm not. I'm like I don't even have asthma. It was just a simple fact that I was trying to go out here and I was acting as if I wasn't sick, and it gave me the realization. Okay, Francine, you sick. You better take care of yourself. And even this week, it's like I had the flu for like I don't even know if it was flu or cold for like 3 weeks or so. And I was trying to shake it off. And then I went and ate two pieces of candy and I got sick for like a day. All I could do, I couldn't eat no sweets that whole day. I had to drink a whole bunch of water and all I could do was sleep. And I somehow shook the thing off. And maybe in like 2 days I had to shake the thing off. And I'm just like, after that, I see some sweets somewhere. I just don't even pick them up. I'm like, nope, I'm not about to. I just got well. So, with that being said, it was like back in '98. Nobody knew what lupus was, and by that time, I didn't even know it was lupus that was bothering me. So I decided to go to Washington D.C. with my class, my senior class, for close up, and it was March of 1998. So I'm gonna read two of these paragraphs and tell you how it was in Washington. Also decided to go to Washington D.C. for the close up program in March 1998. It cost a lot of money, so the group of us were fundraising to get enough money to go by selling candy. My friend sold all of hers pretty fast, so she helped me sell mine as well. That's my friend Takesha Polite. That girl can sell some stuff. When I was about to go on a trip, I woke up with my face broken out and a butterfly shaped rash. More of my hair the middle of my fell out in the middle of my head, but I had enough on the sides to wear a ponytail. I was packing my bags for the trip and I started having stomach pains. The pains were so bad I was on the floor in the ball crying. My mother didn't want me to go at all, but I went anyway. I didn't want to be around Tammy or my mother because back then I don't know what it was the church we went to, but they made it seem like Christians don't have trials. I just became a believer at 16 and 2 years, like a year later, I ended up getting sick with this illness. And like before I got sick, God made me read Job. So they made it seem like once you become a Christian, you don't have trials. And I was like, what kind of world did we live in where people don't go through stuff? I'm like, is you gonna go to heaven early and not have problems, or are you gonna stay on this earth? Because as long as you on this earth, you trials and tribulations happen. Like I'm not making this up. They just made it seem like once you become a Christian, like your life is automatically a fairy tale. And I'm like, I have never read anything in the Bible that says that. So I didn't want to be around them because they just made it seem like I did some type of sin to make myself sick. And I'm looking like, dude, I just got saved like a year ago. Like I don't know what y'all. God just told me to read Job. So um I didn't want to be around people who I thought hated me. And I don't think they hated me. They just didn't understand stuff. Like my sister became a Christian, I think 2 years prior from that. And yeah. So when I was on the plane going to Washington, I drank orange juice and ate some peanuts. About an hour later, I threw it up. The stomach pains came back. When the plane landed, I went to the nurse from the close-up program. She gave me some aspirin and hypocortisone for my itchy skin because my skin, the rash was real itchy. She told me to tell my mother to take me to the doctor as soon as I got back. I called home and told my mother what had happened in Washington. I was getting worse because of the sun. And back then, like now, I can go outside and be around the sun and it don't bother me. Plus, I wear a lot of sunscreen now. But back then, I didn't know nobody no sunscreen. I just thought like black people just don't wear sunscreen. That is a myth. That is wrong. Even if you don't have lupus or anything, you should wear sunscreen. When I returned, my mother took me back to the doctor. My pediatrician didn't know what was on my face, so I was referred to a dermatologist. Because back then, usually everybody say a rheumatologist diagnosed with lupus. Mine was more um, like external instead of internal at that time. So I couldn't go to a rheumatologist. I wasn't. It didn't hit me like pain joints, like my joints was hurting or whatever. It hit me with my skin and my hair at that time, and then stomach pains and stuff. Um, Well, my mother took me to see him. So that referred me to a dermatologist. When my mother took me to see him, his nurse took a sample of my skin and blood and they took a photo of me. On the next visit, I was diagnosed with lupus. I had to take steroids, prednisone, and a bunch of creams for my face and ears. They also referred me to a rheumatologist. The medication caused me to gain weight, lose hair, and retain water. I had to take prednisone to lure my immune system because and autoimmune diseases cause the body to fight itself. What is lupus? It's an autoimmune disease that can affect every organ, such as skin, kidneys, brain, other organs, as well as the blood. It's not contagious. And most people contract contact of others in their family that has it. So it's more hereditary. We had cancer, we had diabetes in the family, and we had high blood pressure in the family, but that was on my mother's side. We found out my paternal grandmother, Nellie Ruth, had a battle with lupus, and one of my aunts. And her son also showed signs of disease at some point, but he didn't have it. He was like 1 point away of having lupus. That's my cousin, my twin cousin, Darren. And I did an interview with my grandmother Nellie Ruth Houston because I was trying to figure out where this stuff came from. So Nellie Ruth was diagnosed with lupus in 1974. She had poor iron in her body, achy joints, and arthritis. From October 25th to December 24th of 1974, she had to remain at home. From 1974 to 1979, she went back and forth to Ann Arbor, Michigan for treatment and medication at the Blood Arthritis Clinic. At the blood clinic, she would receive several blood transfusions. She gained weight from the prednisone. She took her medications from 6 in the morning to 5 in the evening. She'll always have passing out spells. One time at 109 pounds, she fell out and had to be carried away. In 1979, her doctor told her he and his medical team could not find a trace of lupus. So she didn't die of lupus. I don't know what happened, but she got well from it. So I'm just saying it's this battle that's in my family. Even my auntie Linda, she ended up getting lupus. She didn't die from lupus either. Like my grandmother died from blood clots, but I don't know if the blood clots related to lupus because at that time they said she wasn't having a flare up. But then, as far as my aunt Linda, she passed last year. She lupus was totally under control. She ended up having dementia real bad, and she passed from that. So eventually, she no longer had to take medication for her disease. My grandmother battled it and won. A lot of people knew she died. A lot of people she knew died from lupus, including one lady who had a surgery for lupus and lived for a while, then passed away. My grandmother died in 2011 from blood clots. I don't think it was lupus related. I don't know for sure, but then she said she had a blood clots. I remember going to visit her at her hospital to pray for her, and she was crying out to God. See, and then I found out after I went to the funeral that my grandmother was a Christian and she went to church like every Sunday. So I just believe she went home to be with the Lord. So that was like my first experience with lupus, and I just thank God I didn't gain a lot of weight while I was in high school because I had to start taking steroids in April, and by June I graduated. So I started getting plump like by 19, and then my mother threatened to sue them because she was just like, "This is too much for her." Because steroids is um, a very strong drug, and it's about as strong. Even cell stuff is strong. I didn't realize how strong it was until like my naturopathic doctor looked at what I was taking. She was like, "This is a strong medicine. You in high dosages. You need to calm that down." So they lowered it. It took I was on steroids for 5 years. 5 years. So it was like a lot to deal with. And so anytime I would have a flare up, they wouldn't let me stay on there for too long. Like I had a flare up later on. That was at 18, 19 by the time I was 21. By the time I was 29, I had another flare up, but it was just seizures. I would just be minding my business. I just break out and just have a seizure. My body was like I couldn't deal with um how can I say it? I was having seizures. I couldn't, my body was out of balance. And I couldn't drive. So it was many a times when I deal with lupus, I couldn't drive. If I had high doses of steroids, they wouldn't let me drive. This time, they didn't tell me I couldn't drive. I was on 90 milligrams of steroids and I drove to work every day. I didn't even mention to them to tell me not to drive. I was just like, I'm on my own. I don't live at home no more. Everybody had to drive me around. They had to use my car to drive me around. And several times in me dealing with lupus, they would take my car keys away from me. But for some odd reason now, they gave them back to me. They didn't say, "Okay, Francine, you on 90 milligrams of steroids, you can't drive." It was like it didn't bother me that much. You usually get drowsy and stuff. It didn't bother me that much. So um at 27, um, no, in 2009, at 29, on June 24th, 2009, I was rushed to the hospital because I kept having anxiety attacks. The doctor said I had insomnia and I did not have medical insurance or a job at the time. I haven't slept for 3 days. The hospital made me go to a crisis center for 3 weeks. Then I had to go to a home visit. I only been fighting my baby sister and having panic anxiety attacks. I was just out of it. I wasn't trying to fight nobody. I didn't know what was going on. My mother took the car keys because I was really sick and I had to step down for serving the choir in my church. I was taken to a place to get insurance and actually got an internal medicine doctor. The doctor wanted to know why I was taking medication for bipolar disorder. So I could have been going crazy because they gave me the wrong medicine. They gave me medicine to fall asleep, but the medicine was for bipolar. I didn't have bipolar. He said I'm not bipolar and that the sleeping pills for people with that disorder. So that medication, as well as I was prescribed for anxiety, depression, caused me to sleep and not want to eat. I went from 125 to 116 in a week. Like some medicines take your appetite, like the acid reflux medicine, it slowly takes your appetite away from you because it's like it's trying to control the stomach acid in your stomach. You need stomach acid for your body, for your stomach to digest this stuff. And if it don't, you be having a lot of problems. So um, I had to take myself off of that because I had to be able to eat. I wasn't able to eat, even with the stomach acid medicine. So they basically took me off the bipolar medicine. Um, the doctor conducted a physical on me and tested me for various things. At that time, they couldn't find lupus. Thank God they couldn't find it, and they believed it. So they tested me again. They thought something was wrong with my liver. So I took a hepatitis B and C test plus a Baldo scan. I kept mentioning my friends to pray for me. Although gland level was actually low, so I had to take steroids again because the lady was. I had a different naturopathic doctor on there. It was crazy. The medication I was taking prior to the hospital was adrenal gland supplements, and those somehow made things worse. I was told if I didn't take the steroids, I would die because I was totally off balance. So, and I couldn't drive. People had to drive me everywhere. It was just it was just strange. But on top of all of that, despite of me going through all of that with lupus, I ended up getting a trip to the Bahamas that day for 5 days. It was a good deal. It was only like $200 to go to Bahamas for the cruise. Yeah. Speaking of now, it's probably totally a whole lot more. But so at the end of that year, I ended up going on the cruise. So that was like the end of this book. But I had a question at the end of the book saying, um, I said I hate remission and wanted it to last forever or did it? And I had to tell you the answer is no. You know, I ended up getting sick again at 35, and there was a lot more to deal with. I ended up having to be on the dialysis. So I was gonna read you a part of me dealing with the dialysis. I think I got 1 minute or 2 minutes left. Um, so I had this thing called hemodialysis. It's basically the blood. It's with the blood they hook the machine up to you. The blood come out your body. They remove the toxins. They put it in. And I was at that point at level 5 of the kidney disease, which is bad because 5 is bad. One is good. One is 100. 5 is bad. So I ended up from level 5 to bound to level 2, 3. And then I'm at level 2 now. I'm trying to go to level 3. And I needed a kidney donor. So the miracle of all of this stuff is that I'm off of dialysis and I didn't need a kidney donor. I had to believe God to basically revive my own kidneys. Because if you get kidney donors all the time, and then well, if the kidney don't work, then you out here again back on dialysis, believing for your kidneys again. Not to say nothing wrong with it, because some people get a new kidney, they get a kidney transplant, and they don't have problems like this no more. But with me, I just have to be careful because I just thought once this happened and I was done. But last year was a whole nother story, and then next thing I know, I'm dealing with a whole nother ordeal of being back on steroids. So um, it all started with me dealing with low platelets, and they was telling me like, what either you gonna get back on steroids, you gotta take chemo. I took chemo one time, and that was for my kidneys. So I was like, I'm not about to take chemo. So basically, when my kidneys went down, I had to get back on steroids, and the steroids helped me deal with um, it helped me deal with my platelets being back to normal. They went back to normal. I think they still back to normal now. But all last year, I basically was counting down because after 30 days, after 90 days, you had to count down every 2 weeks and you go down. Every 2 weeks, you go down. So I haven't. My face got back normal. I would say I got done taking the steroids August the 19th. I would say by September, October ish, maybe. Yeah, I started looking like myself again. So, but I just wanted to explain all three of my lupus journeys. I'm having a new book to come out. It's called Seeking You Shall Find, and I'm trying to figure out an ending or what is the best time to end this book. So coming soon will be a new book from me called Seeking You Shall Find, as long as along with the other anthologies I'm doing with other people. So until next week, hopefully next week I will have my brother Marcus Lee on the show as well. He's an author as well. So again, I will see you next week. Bye.